It's the Foodpocalypse Now podcast, a revelation of all things Foodpocalypse Now. I'm Chris Baker from Foodpocalypse Now, foodpocalypsenow.com. Welcoming you back to the show. Of course, for those who don't know, and this is kind of one of those rules of radio. I'm a radio guy, spent a couple decades plus in the radio industry, and it's always been the rule of thumb that people only listen to the radio for about 15 minutes at a time, and then they're off doing something else. That's not a hard and fast rule. You got some people that listen all the time. You got on while they work, but usually people only listen for about 15 minutes, and then you get new people tuning in every 15 minutes. And so you got to keep telling people what's going on. You got to tell them who you are, tell them what they're listening to, that sort of thing. So if I sit here and you're a constant listener and you're like, geez, Louise, I am so tired of him explaining what this podcast is all about. I get it. Well, it's not for you. It's for the people just tuning in. And being that we're a pretty young podcast, that there's not a ton of people listening. I am appreciative of everyone who has taken even a second to listen to what I've got to say, but I'll be honest, there's only a few of you, but we're hoping to grow, hoping to make things bigger, and do want to let everyone know what this podcast is all about. Of course, Foodpocalypse Now started off as my blog, talking about some of the restaurants I go to, some of my food experiences, some of my favorite dishes from some of my favorite restaurants and some new restaurants, that sort of thing. We started off with that, doing the YouTube series with the Snack Attack and working on some other things. Got another podcast, Heather's Pin Wins, that we just debuted here a week or so ago. So we're looking for big things out of that, and of course been doing this podcast for a little while now. We're a handful plus episodes in, and we're kind of talking about like I said, it's a revelation of all things Foodpocalypse Now. If Foodpocalypse Now is a revelation of all things food, the podcast is a revelation of all things Foodpocalypse Now. And as a foodie, I love food, but I like other stuff as well, and it's a chance for me to be able to spread my wings, to branch out, and we're going to talk about food. Usually talk about some sort of food in the beginnings, and then we talk about something. I try to relate it. Today it's going to be a little more relatable, but sometimes not so much, and I don't care because it's my podcast and I can do whatever I want. But just went to see the new movie. Well, I guess it's been out for a little while now, but new to me. Went and saw A Quiet Place 2. I loved the original film. I'm a big fan of John Krasinski. Of course, I'll make no bones about it. It all dates back to The Office. I was introduced to him as Jim Halpert, like so many here in the United States, and just love him as an actor. The Jim stuff is great, but the stuff he's done branching out, and he's just done a fantastic job. And he's one of those actors / directors. Because of A Quiet Place, he's a renowned director now, and it's one of those guys that I'm always excited to see what he's got going on next. And just seems like a really good, positive guy. During the whole COVID outbreak and everybody quarantining, he tried to do that good news thing on YouTube, and just kind of do a newscast. That's not going to be on YouTube. No, a newscast where it talks about good things, positive things. The news can be so negative, and just seems like a really cool guy. And when I found out he was doing a horror flick here a few years back, how long ago was that? That A Quiet Place came out? 2018. Yeah, 2018, A Quiet Place came out, and I was like, well, I gotta watch this because it's Jim from The Office and it's horror, two of my favorite things. So I went and saw it and was just blown away. And the cool thing is not only did he star in it, John Krasinski, his wife Emily Blunt, and of course the other cast members, which we'll get into, but he directed, he wrote it. It was such for me to see somebody put so much of themselves into a horror flick. It impressed me. And I was like, I've got to see this, got to check it out. And I loved it. You know what? It's one of those movies that it's so much more than a horror flick because it's got so much emotion to it. It's got some jump scares. It's got some scary moments, a scary premise, and but the family at the heart of it is what just made me fall in love with the movie. And so excited to see that they were coming out with a sequel to A Quiet Place. And so I went and saw that this afternoon. And one of the things that makes the whole movie experience great is getting snacks at the movie theater. And I don't know about you, but I like to have a snack. I usually have most of my snack down before the start of the show because I don't want to sit there crunching on things while I'm watching a movie. I don't want to disturb anybody else. I don't want to have to focus on anything but the movie. But I like to get snacks while I'm at the movie theater. And ever since I was a little kid, probably one of my favorite snacks going to the movie theater was Milk Duds. I'm probably from an early age. Milk Duds and Junior Mints. Junior Mints probably early on because, they're chocolate, they're mint, they're soft, they're creamy, they're delicious. But then I probably moved on to Milk Duds. But Milk Duds, it's always been such a bittersweet relationship with Milk Duds because I'm surprised I didn't lose a tooth on Milk Duds because they're so hard when you first get them in your mouth and you bite into them. There have been times where I thought a tooth was going to pop out, trying to get my jaw separated. You got to wait till they warm up, and then you can enjoy them. But I've moved on from there. I don't get candy much at the movie theater anymore. That was a kid thing. I put my childish ways behind me, and I've gravitated to more adult delights in the movie theater. No, I'm not adult at all. Of course, popcorn is always a staple. My wife loves movie theater popcorn. There have been times where she hasn't said, let's do this, but she has insinuated that maybe it's a possibility we should and could do this. Just stop at the movie theater and get a tub of popcorn. If it wouldn't be cold by the time we got home, I'm quite certain, because we pass our movie theater on the way home from work every day, and if she could guarantee that the popcorn was still going to be, warm right out of the big glass box by the time we got home, she'd be having me stop to get movie theater popcorn at least twice a week, maybe 3, maybe more. But she loves movie theater popcorn. I love movie theater popcorn too. But really, my favorite thing, and this is more of a, like in the past 5 years or so, I started getting this when I go to the movie theater. Nachos. Yeah, I can do my nachos at home. It's not that big a deal, but there's something about going to the movie theater and that warm cheese that's been sitting there and just getting cooked and gooey and cheesy for God knows how long. That and sometimes stale, maybe not so stale chips, but I don't know what it is about nachos from the movie theater. And sometimes I'll get some jalapenos on it. It depends on how much heartburn I want before the end of the movie. But just the cheese and just the nachos. There's something about that just I don't know. My taste will probably change here before too long, and I'll be on to something else, Red Rope Licorice or something like that, Sour Babies, Sour Patch Kids, whatever they call them. But right now, nachos and cheese are like my go-to. And the one thing I love about our movie theater, and I don't know if you like this as well, but they've got one of those pop machines where you get the possibilities are endless. No longer are you confined to the strictures of just here's a Coke product. You either get Coke, Diet Coke, whatever, Mr. Pibb, Shasta. You get all these different choices and different flavors. My favorite, I'm a big Mellow Yellow fan. I spent many years down in the South, down around Charlotte, North Carolina, about 10 years down there, and I acquired a taste for Mellow Yellow Pop, and I've always liked it, but at the movie theater, they've got Mellow Yellow, but then you can get all sorts of flavors mixed in with your Mellow Yellow, and I, being the peach fiend that I am, was overjoyed the first time I found out our movie theaters pop. I would stop after work just to get a peach Mellow Yellow. My wife, if she could get movie theater popcorn after work every day, she'd be on board with it too. Peach Mellow Yellow, movie theater popcorn. Don't even have to see a movie. Just go take that home and enjoy that. But like I said, the movie theater popcorn is going to be cold by the time we get home, so she's not going to be on board with that. And I'm not going to get my peach mellow yellow every day like I would do it. I don't need it. I don't need pop every day. I try not to drink a whole lot of pop or soda, if you will, because, you know, it's not good for you. Even the diet stuff. I try not to do that. But, oh my God, good God almighty, peach mellow yellow, just, it doesn't get much better. And that's one of the things, when I go to the movie theater, I'm like a kid in a candy store, quite literally, so to speak, with all the sugar in that pop. But give me some nachos and cheese and a peach mellow yellow and a great horror flick from an actor/director that I thoroughly enjoy. And that's the makings for a good Saturday afternoon. And that's what I did this afternoon. Went to see A Quiet Place 2. And if you've never seen A Quiet Place 1, go check it out. Great film. One of the things I loved about this movie is that it wasn't, you know, you go to sequels and a lot of times it's just this first movie rehashed. And they didn't do, I mean, granted, there are a lot of the similar themes. And, you know, you've got a world where these creatures are there and killing people, and they do it by sound, and everybody's got to be quiet. Yeah, that's going to be the same. You can't help that. That's the scenario they're in. But, you know, this is a movie where it's just so much different. It paces differently in some aspects. It hits different beats, hits different notes. It's not the same movie over again, which is what I hate when I see a lot of sequels. But the second movie was just good. And I'm going to try not to get too spoilery. If I get into any spoiler territory, I'll try to warn you. But the cast is so fantastic. Of course, John Krasinski, while he wrote and directed this, he makes a return in a flashback scene. Spoiler alert if you haven't seen the first movie, but he's of course fantastic. His lovely wife Emily Blunt, lovely wife in real life, comes back as Evelyn Abbott, and then of course Noah and Millicent, the Abbott kids. I tell you what, Millicent Simmons does a spectacular job in both movies, but Noah. I'm going to butcher his last name. I probably should have looked this up before, but Joopy, I'm not sure. I'm sorry. He's probably not ever going to listen to this podcast, but God willing, maybe one day. And I'm sorry, Noah. I said your name wrong. Like I said, probably should have done some research before this. But he really kind of comes into his own. You know, he did a great job in the first one, but kind of comes into his own. Just some of the acting he had to do in this movie was just, I could feel it. There are some scenes where he is in some pain that I can feel that pain. He did such a fantastic job. And of course, Millicent just, you know, for as good as she was in the first one, she just took it up a notch in the second one. And of course, there's a newcomer to the cast, Cillian Murphy, which, you know what, he's one of those actors that you see him from time to time in things. Like he showed up in the Christopher Nolan Batman series. He was in that 28 Days Later. I never got to watch. I'm not big into the rage zombie movies. I like more slow plodding Night of the Living Dead type zombies. But it's a movie that I've always wanted to watch. But he's in that. He's in that Peaky Blinders TV series, and he's one of those actors where I don't think of him right off the bat as like one of my favorite actors. But he's one of those actors, when he shows up in a movie, and I'm like, oh, that's him. And I always like it. And he always does such a great job. And I was, you know, it was one of those things where I didn't recognize him at first. And I didn't know he was in this movie. He's got a beard in the movie for the most part. By the time I think, because he's got very distinct eyes, I think. And I'm seeing these eyes. I'm like, is that who I think it is? And then, of course, there's a better reveal of the character later. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's Cillian Murphy. And so he's added to the cast this year. Does a phenomenal job. Just the work he did with Millicent Simmons. Those two, it was kind of like Millicent and John Krasinski in the first one. Just had a great chemistry. And I thought they had a really good chemistry in this one. Not necessarily the father-daughter bond that they could play off with John Krasinski and Millicent Simmons, but a very similar connection, a forming bond. I think that just it played really well on the screen, and there's some twists and turns in this that just I found fascinating and really loved where this is going. Word on the street is they're going to make a third one, and I'm really excited about that. There's also word on the street that they might do a spin-off, because I think this is the world that John Krasinski has created for this, I think is perfect for a spin-off, whether it's another movie or like a TV series, kind of a Walking Dead style TV series, post-apocalypse sort of thing. I think this world is ripe for the picking when it comes to the possibilities that could be out there for this type of world, that we could see not just the Abbott family that we get in A Quiet Place and the sequel, but you could see how other people, all over the world, how their experience was. And I think that's one of the beauties of The Walking Dead, the world that's created, that you can have that main show, but then you can have these other spin-off shows. And I think that's the kind of world that John Krasinski has created. So tip the hat to him, because I think it's just a fascinating world. And it's a fascinating, these creatures are so fascinating to sit there and why are they there? How did, we kind of see how they got there, so to speak. I think that's how they got there. I don't know. They didn't really dive into it too. That's the one of the things I like about the first one, is that you never get the why. It's a very Stephen King thing to do. Stephen King is the master at plucking you down into the middle of something, or putting you right up to where something's about to begin, and then once it begins, you never really find out why it happened or the reasoning for it happened. All you know is that something happened, and here are these characters, and they're right in the thick of it. And John Krasinski did a great job in creating that sort of scenario, so it just leaves the viewer with so many questions, and not in a bad way, but you want to find out more. And I think as the first movie progressed, some things got answered, but still had some questions. The second one, A Quiet Place 2, some questions got answered, because the first scene of the movie, they're taking you back to when this all went down, and you kind of see things, but you're still not getting all the answers. And I think it leaves a great place for A Quiet Place 3. For some more things to be answered. Is it going to be a trilogy and we're going to wrap it all up with a nice neat bow? I don't know. If they did that, that's great. If they left it open for more movies, I think that'd be great too, because this is a story, and these are characters that I want to keep watching. And there again, tying this back to Stephen King, that's one of the things I love about King, is that he creates characters that you can relate to and that you can empathize with, and even more so empathize with. You can, you care about them. They're good people, and you begin to care about these characters and their relationships with one another. And King is probably the master at doing that. I'm not trying to be the Stephen King, John Krasinski butt kisser club president, founder, but John Krasinski did a fantastic job of doing that sort of thing with these characters. When the movie starts for A Quiet Place, the first one, you don't really get immersed in these characters right away, because they're not even speaking. You're just seeing what's going on, but just the way they interact with each other and how he wrote that, it speaks volumes without even speaking a word. And you begin to care about you get to see the relationship between all these characters and the love between all these characters, and that draws people in. Love always draws you in. It doesn't matter who you are. Love always brings you in, because everybody wants that. Everybody appreciates that. You see two people in love, and it just makes you feel like, hey, you know what? There is some hope in the world. And I think that's the kind of writing and the kind of characters that John Krasinski built with this family, with Lee Abbott and Evelyn Abbott and Marcus and Reagan, and this family unit that at some points it feels like Lee Abbott in the first one is the strong character. He's the one holding them all together. He's the one protector. But you get to see the other character's strength, and it's not just him; it is the family unit that is drawing strength from one another in this first movie. And in the second movie, you get the sense that, because it picks up, it has that flashback scene in the beginning, but then it picks up right where part one left off, and you get to see these characters getting stronger, and that it wasn't just him. He wasn't just the strong one. You start to see these other characters get stronger, and then you see, with Noah's character, Marcus, kind of get to see him fall back into a place where he's not as strong like he was in the first movie. He's the younger sibling, at least now. Again, I don't want to get into too much spoilers, but at any rate, he you get to see his character develop and become stronger, and Millicent Simmons' character, Reagan Abbott, you get to see her become an even stronger character, and there's a great line in the movie, and this may be a bit of a spoiler. I don't think it is, but there's a line in the movie where she's talking to Cillian Murphy's character, Emmett, and she's like, "You're nothing like my dad." And then later in the movie, some things happen. They experience some stuff together, and he's talking to her, and he says that she was right. He is nothing like her dad. And then he turns to me and says, "You are." And just the way that hit her, and the way she played that was just, to me, so heartwarming and heart-wrenching at the same time, given her and John Krasinski's character, Lee Abbott's relationship in the first movie, and what happened at the end of that, and where they're at in the part two. It plays a lot of emotion. And this movie, you want to talk about some jump scares. There's a lot of jump scares in this. Some doesn't even have anything to do with the creatures. But if you want to jump, this is a good movie for that. There's such anticipation. You got these creatures that, they hunt by sound. And I love, there's one scene where Millicent's character is in this train car, and you can see through the length of the train car to the open door on the other end, and her head blocks that door, and then she moves it back, and then there's the creature kind of blurry in the background. It's just masterfully filmed sequence, and it's such a classic horror thing to do, and Krasinski did a fantastic job of that. There's just so many great scenes in there. Just You take away the characters. You take away, I think, a really good script and a powerful story, and you take away all the special effects. And movies, at their heart, are essentially how they're shot, which make them, one more special than another. And I think John Krasinski did a fantastic job, a special job in directing both of these films. Just like I said, some of the shots are fantastic, classic horror. There were some innovative shots. And the soundscape that they create is just fantastic, perfect for this movie. How they jump back and forth between Reagan Abbott's point of view, who is deaf. For if you haven't watched the first one and you don't know, she's a deaf actress and plays a deaf character. And you jump back from the muffled perspective that she has, or where you can barely hear anything, to the perspective of another character, or whoever is listening in the outside world. The jumping back and forth between the two of those. There's not a ton of music in this, but what they do use just plays very well. That little bit of music that they do with like the broken, almost sounds like a broken piano, broken toy piano, something like that. Just adds an air of eeriness, but in some regards, it's a subtle, taking it back to a simpler time. You want to go back to a simpler time. I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain, but it's done so well. Really is a solid movie. And I say solid, that's underplaying it, because I'm a huge fan of both of these films. I love the first one so much. It's one of those ones where I couldn't wait to get the Blu-ray and watch it again. And I was afraid, okay, they caught some lightning in a bottle. The magic was there for the first one, and the second one, maybe it'll tail off a little bit. Sometimes you get that with sequels to really good movies, but I don't think it did at all with this. I think John Krasinski kept the foot on the throttle and kept, full speed ahead and did a spectacular job. One, recreating everything I loved about the first movie, the heart, the characters. It's a very character-driven story, and it has a lot of heart and it has a lot of emotion. And he, doubled down on that in spades with this new movie, and then kept the elements of sci-fi, of horror, which to me, I love those types of movies, but it's just a lame slasher flick if there's no heart and there's no character development. And that's what he's taken, is a great monster movie and made it into, I hate the termed, higher level horror or upper echelon horror. There are some horror movies that kind of get treated better just because, whatever. But he's up the horror game, I think, and I'm excited. I gotta say, he's probably not going to be what you would call a horror director like some directors are. I'd like to see him do all sorts of different things, but I'd like to see him continue this movie franchise, and I would like to see him continue in the horror genre. Maybe it won't be his bread and butter, his go-to genre, but I would like to see him do some more things in this genre, because I think he does a spectacular job, like I said, of character development and story development, world creating, and it does a great job directing. That's one of the things that, like I said, I love about King, is he is very character driven, very driven to build worlds, and I think that's one of the same things I love about John Krasinski's work as a director and a screenwriter, and I think he did that like I said, in spades with A Quiet Place, and here with the sequel, A Quiet Place 2. And I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but if you've seen the movie, maybe you can tell me, maybe you can confirm or deny this, but did I see a Steve Carell cameo when they get to the island? Because I swear to God, I saw Steve Carell and maybe Kate Flanagan, Meredith from The Office, and Michael Scott. Did they make cameos, uncredited cameos? Because I swear to God, I saw them. At least Steve Carell. I don't know, but hopefully we can confirm that. I will be buying this on Blu-ray when it comes out, so I'll be pausing that scene to see if I can find out. I may just have to go back to the movie theater and watch it again, but we'll see. I mean, that may be just a ploy for me to get more peach mellow yellow, but I swear to God, it's because I do want to see the movie over again. And maybe some more nachos. But thanks for listening. Who knows what we're going to talk about next? I never know. I try to fly by the seat of my pants. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it is a train wreck that, at the very least, it's going to be entertaining to listen to. And if not entertaining, it is going to be worth it to witness the carnage that ensues. But you can check out everything that's going on with Foodpocalypse Now on our website, foodpocalypsenow.com. You got the blog, you've got this podcast, you've got the YouTube videos, Snack Attack. We're doing some other things. We've got Heather's Pin Wins podcast. We debuted that here last week, and excited for more episodes of that. And of course, you can go to Facebook, Instagram for Foodpocalypse Now, our YouTube channel, and all that good stuff can be found at all those places, links and whatnot. But until we talk again, like I said, check out the website, foodpocalypsenow.com. And thanks for listening. Like it, subscribe it, all that cool stuff that only the coolest of cool people do these days on the information superhighway. And until we talk again, you've been listening to a revelation of all things Foodpocalypse Now.